Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We're right about at 5 p.m. Eastern, but I'm going to give folks a few minutes to log in and get situated. But while we're waiting, if you want to find the at the bottom of your screen, the control panel, there's a Q&A section. If you just want to type in there your name, and then if you want to share what interested you about Belize, what made you want to join this webinar, just so we can kind of get to know folks, and we will and then if you also want to type any questions throughout the webinar, we'll answer those all at the end, but feel free to put them in at any point during the presentation. So we'll give folks just a couple more minutes. Looks like we've got most people coming in. All right, looks like some people are interested in Belize, residency, investment opportunities, all things that Katie and I will be chatting about this afternoon. So we are right at 5 o'clock Eastern, so we will go ahead and get started. My name is Betsy Rosenlund. I have been with ECI Development since 2016. For 8 years, I called Ambergris Caye, Belize home. I'm now in North Carolina, a little change of pace, but I still love Belize. I own some property in Belize, and I'm excited to chat with you more about Belize tonight. And with me is my co-host Katie, who is in Belize, and she will introduce herself now.
Thanks, Betsy. Hi, everybody. My name is Katie Ejikeme. Happy to join you tonight. As Betsy said, I am currently here in Belize. I made my way down here about 4 years ago full-time, but I had been going back and forth from the West Coast of the United States to Belize for about 2 years. So 6 years in total here on the island. So I'm happy to share my experience with you. It's one of the great things about ECI, as I know, all of our property consultants were able to really hand that firsthand experience over to our clients about what it's like to relocate or, have experience getting residency, going through the process ourselves, or even investing. I know Betsy herself has invested in Panama for residency. So we all do have quite a bit of experience that we're happy to share. And that's what tonight's webinar is really about, the Belize 101, touching base on just the country itself, but then also some opportunities for folks that might be looking to retire or relocate or just invest. We do have some great opportunities where Belize has been an up and coming country for many years. And so now we're starting to see major hotel brands come into the country and US based airlines adding nonstop flights. So now really is a great time to dive in and learn about Belize.
All right, well, let's get started. If my computer will let me. There we go. So in case you aren't sure where Belize is, it is this country here in green. It's just to the south of Cancun, Mexico. So very close to the US, about 2.5 hours from major airline hubs in Houston, Miami, and a few new flights as well, which we'll talk about from the West Coast, Canada, all sorts of great places. So here's a quick kind of overview of Belize. As of October, Belize's population is just over 400,000 people, so it's still a very small country. It's small in population as well as in size. It's about the size of Massachusetts. One thing that surprises a lot of people is that the official language is English. That being said, all business is conducted in English, but most people that you'll meet who are from Belize also speak a combination of English, Belizean Creole, which is sort of a combination of a few different things, as well as Spanish. You'll get some Maya, and Katie, help me. There are a couple other languages, but I can't quite think of.
No, you hit it the nail on the head, English being the official language, but here Creole is spoken or Spanish in the homes, but they do teach English and Spanish in schools. But I think the other couple that you were pointing out to were Lebanese. There's a large Lebanese population and Chinese. So you're going to hear a lot of different languages, but be comfortable in knowing that English, anywhere you go, you'll be able to communicate easily with any of the shop owners or at your hotels.
Yeah, absolutely. The currency is the Belize dollar. And one of the nice things is that the Belize dollar is pegged to the US dollar. So two Belize dollars equals one US dollar. Any shop business that you go into, prices will most likely be in Belize dollars. You can pay in US dollars, you can pay in Belize dollars, you can pay in a combination. For the purposes of this webinar and for pretty much any real estate purchase that you're doing, prices are in US dollars, not Belize dollars. So just something to keep in mind when you're seeing numbers on the screen when it comes to pricing of properties, those are US dollars. Katie touched on this briefly earlier, but we have seen a huge increase in the number of flights that are coming to Belize. And that's really a testament to the fact that Belize is really growing as a tourism destination. Airlines don't just decide to create nonstop flights to countries because they think it might be a good idea. They're looking at the numbers, they're looking at the data from tourism, where people are going. And so you see here flights from Canada, a couple places in Latin America, and all throughout the United States. One of the things you don't see are flights from Europe, but that's kind of a positive thing because it means that there's still room for Belize to grow. I anticipate that we'll start seeing flights from Europe coming soon. I know there were a lot more European travelers that were finding their way to Belize, so I think it's really only a matter of time before some of those larger international airlines start doing trips from Europe to Belize.
Yeah, I've heard some rumors about a flight from the UK. It's
Mhm.
obviously nothing official, but we are hearing rumors down here. So that's usually the first step, right?
Exactly. The rumors don't come from nowhere. There's
Yeah.
usually a grain of truth in them. All right.
Yeah, so as we were talking about just Belize itself, location, also one of the great things when you're here is the culture. I think that's one of the things that I fell in love with my first visit were the people. You know, the people really make it what it is. I always tell first visitors the only way I know how to describe it is if you ask somebody where something is, they're more likely to show you than tell you because that really is just the culture of Belize. It's very warm, welcoming. And so when you're here, obviously, it's comfortable because English is the official language, so you can communicate, but then you are just feel safe when you're here, knowing that people are always willing to help and they're actually wanting to show you their culture. You know, they're very open to, as we see in this picture, these are the Garifuna drummers. So we have Garifuna Settlement Day, which will be coming up here in November. It's November 19th. It is one of the only celebrated national holidays for that specific culture, and they're celebrating Garifuna. So you'll hear drumming throughout the country. But that's just one of examples of the sharing of the cultures. And you can go ahead and skip that slide, Betsy. I don't
Yep.
cursor is gonna
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you can keep going.
All right.
There we go. So when you're here on coming to Belize, as Betsy showed you, you're going to fly into the mainland and Belize City, and then you can come over to the island. So one of the great things about Belize is if you're on the mainland of the country, you really do get to experience the jungle life. And that's such a pier down in that bottom right-hand corner. We have lots of birds to experience as well. So there's a lot of nature to enjoy. ATM cave tours, anything in the jungle as well. And then you can make your way over to the Keys. So Ambergris Key, you're going to be able to do your diving, fishing, snorkeling. All right, there you can get dive certified. That's one of the big draws here is coming to get certified for diving. You know, folks do come here for our reef and then the blue hole as well. And again, you can do the zip lining as well. That's on the mainland right there. Anybody coming to visit, just let us know when you're going to be here in Belize. We're happy to make recommendations. Betsy and I have both been here, so we can let you know, oh, you're going to be in the Cayo district. Here's some of the cave tours or zip lining you can do. And if you're coming over to the island, again, we can put you in touch with some local outfitters for your tours and going out on the boats. This is a great one right here. I actually just did this at the end of last year, part of the ATM cave tour. So you come out.
Yeah, this is my favorite thing to do in Belize is the cave tubing.
Yeah, I have not heard one bad thing. I actually just had two clients. They were clients of yours, Betsy. They were here. They're retired, they're traveling the world as best friends together, they're in their 70s, and they experienced the ATM cave tour and they survived. So anybody can do it. It's for all ages. Bring the kids, bring the grandparents, and really just enjoy the adventure of Belize.
Absolutely. Like we were saying earlier, there's a lot of different cultures that make up Belize. It's one of the things that makes Belize such a beautiful country. You can't really ask somebody, well, what does a Belizean look like? Because it really spans from at blonde hair, blue-eyed Mennonites to very, very, very dark skin. And so it's a really interesting thing. But one of the main cultures are the Maya, who were in Belize between 1500 BC until about the 12th century. The Mayan ruins are you can still go see them, unlike places like in Tulum or other parts of Mexico. You can still get right up in the ruins. You can climb up them and really kind of experience what it was like to be in that civilization. So that's a really neat thing to do. I definitely recommend that. It's a huge part of Belizean culture are those Mayan ruins. You'll see that temple on lots of logos throughout the country. So you definitely want to make sure that you spend at least a day or two exploring the mainland of Belize. That's one of the nice things about it being such a small country is that you are easily able to get around. There are two local airlines, Tropic Air and Maya Island Air, that have flights in and out of Ambergris Key, Belize City, and then a couple different parts of the mainland so that you can see all of these um, exciting places.
Yeah, it's a quick flight, so I think it's about 15 minutes. So even if you were to come to the island and stay for your entire visit, you can easily do a day trip to the
Mhm.
mainland or vice versa. It's a quick 15-minute flight and hour and a half on a water taxi. So very easy to get around.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, So Europeans first contact with Belize around 1492 when Columbus sailed over, found the Gulf of Honduras, and European explorers noticed that there was a lot of great hardwoods in Belize, and that's really how Belize kind of got on Europe's radar is through the mahogany trade. They were did a lot of logging in Belize, bringing that beautiful mahogany wood over, and we still thankfully have those beautiful mahogany forests throughout Belize, but you do see a lot of mahogany wood, and that's a really integral part of Belize's culture is that mahogany. They were called the Baymen who came from Scotland and England and brought that European culture to Belize, which you still see is still a big influence. Belize was a Commonwealth of the United Kingdom up until 1981 when it gained its independence. So there is still a lot of that influence in the country as well. Like we were saying, that's why English is the official language. That's why the Queen of England, although she has passed, is still on the currency. She is still the reigning monarch in Belize's eyes. They are an independent country since 1981. Like we were saying, 81 since 1981. It's given Belize a lot of advantages in terms of that are beneficial to you as somebody who might be looking either to relocate to Belize, to purchase property, to start a business. The legal system is rooted in English common law. It's got a English is the official language, so all of your business paperwork is done in English. All of your purchase paperwork is done in English. It also has excellent and very strong financial services that make Belize a great location to do any sort of banking transactions. Uh, More on that. Just some other favorable reasons that Belize is a favorable location for doing business.
One of my favorites that folks are kind of surprised about if they haven't done any, deep dive into Belize is realizing that there is no capital gains tax. So it is also in favor of folks looking to invest in a hard asset over here in Belize, purchasing property. But like you had said, it's a really strong structure set up, so your money and your investments are safe here.
Absolutely.
Kind of why, when we're talking about why own and Belize, why right now. So that is, already been in the works. You have a strong banking system, you have, things being safe, but really when we're looking at the tourism numbers that we've been discussing that have been growing, throughout Central America, a lot of folks have heard of Costa Rica. Costa Rica, people have been flocking there for quite a while. And now we can see on this investment curve, it's getting a little bit more saturated. So Costa Rica, if you go in there and are purchasing property, you might not see as much appreciation in the property, but you do have the cash flow. So Belize is really going to be at that sweet spot where we're not quite to where Costa Rica is. So when you're coming in, you're buying property, you already are going to have a little bit of built-in appreciation and continue to see that grow. But the cash flow is here and the cash flow is growing. So I know on one of the upcoming slides, we also have just some tourism numbers to share with you where we can see that growth. But we've already seen it with the nonstop flights coming in and the addition of US major airlines adding those flights as well as branded hotels. So, the US major airlines and branded hotels are really following the numbers, which is why Belize is at that sweet spot because you're still getting in a little bit ahead of that curve versus something like Honduras where, they're not quite there with the same cash flow and tourism, but are growing. So that's why this curve really is showing Belize at that sweet spot.
Absolutely. And then a few other things, why Belize is really a hot spot. It's got a growing economy, like we already talked about. It's got a currency that's pegged to the US dollar, making it really easy to do business. There are still affordable real estate opportunities. You can go to Cancun, you can go to Costa Rica, and you can buy a very beautiful property, but you're going to pay. Katie and I were talking before the webinar started that, gone are the days, unfortunately, of beachfront property in Belize for $100,000, but it still is, there are still options available that are, in that kind of that are beachfront. There's still beachfront property available, first of all, but there's still affordable beachfront property. And we'll talk about some of those options a little bit later. Where was I? Okay. And then I know a few people have mentioned in the comments box I'm looking at, residency. Belize has a lot of great residency options. There's an investor residency with there's a qualified retired persons program, a permanent residency. You can simply apply for a work permit, or there's a brand new digital nomad visa. And if you want any more information on any of these visa options, we're happy to send you those. Either type it in the question box or feel free to contact your property consultant and they can send you more information about these. But just to let you know that there are several different options that kind of fit really any sort of age bracket, income bracket. So something for everybody there. So now we talked broadly about Belize, but now we're going to hone in on this little island right here off the coast of Belize, which is Ambergris Key. And this is where 70% of all tourism and comes from this little island off the coast. I think almost every person that comes to Belize ends up on Ambergris Key for at least a day. And if you don't, then if they don't do it the first time, they definitely come back the next time because it's a pretty amazing place, as Katie and I both know, having lived there. It's a very unique and special place and offers a lot in terms of things to do as well as opportunities.
I'm sure you experienced it, but I know when I'm out and I meet people that are here visiting, it was shocking to me how many people, it's not their first time. They're like, I come here every year. This is my 6th visit, my 12th visit. We always come on our wedding anniversary. And I had never really experienced that majority of people who had just kept coming back as in other places I had traveled. So when I got here and experienced that, it was, kind of reconfirming what I had already felt. It's just a special place and the people really make it what it is. So
yeah, no, it's definitely a place where you do see a lot of repeat visitors. And a lot of times people come 1, 2, 3 times, and then they start to get the itch that, okay, I'm coming here all the time. Maybe now I want to own something so that when I come, I've got my spot, or I can send my friends to my property. And so, like Katie was saying, there's a lot of repeat. Very rarely do you have people who come and they come once and they never come again, because it is just so special.
Yeah.
And like we were saying, you've got beautiful white beaches, you've got the Caribbean Sea, you've got the largest living coral reef, which is just a 5-minute boat ride from most parts of the island. You can see it, it's really beautiful. You can see the waves breaking on the reef from a lot of the beachfront bars and restaurants. It's a really unique location. Oh gosh. Um, Ambergris Key is regularly voted as one of the top islands, one of the top destinations. And this one, for example, is from TripAdvisor, which is those are coming from people who have actually been here. These are people who've come to the country, they loved it, they voted it the #1 island. There were a couple other recent awards. I think it was the World Travel Awards. Belize and Ambergris Key specifically received several awards from that too. So it's definitely gaining in popularity. People have found out the secret's out, but it's still sort of a hidden gem. Um, so like we mentioned, there's a lot of different activities you can do on the island. If you're into fly fishing, it's one of the greatest spots on the planet. You've got the Grand Slam, tarpon, bonefish, and the third one that I can't remember. But there are plenty of great fly fishing spots. You've got diving, you've got sea turtles, manatees, all sorts of coral and fish. And unlike, I know Australia, the Great Barrier Reef claims it's the biggest one, but the Mesoamerican reef off Belize is the largest living reef. It's much healthier. Belize does a really great job of protecting its reef and putting out a lot of knowledge to protect the reef, because they know that that's the moneymaker for the country. Um, Again, kayaking, boating, all sorts of things. So if you're a water bug, Belize is a great place. All right.
Absolutely. So this is going into the tourism numbers. I think if you go on to the next slide,
Yep.
jump into that one. Yeah, so we'll pause here for a minute. I know it's kind of small, but this one is just showing September, but I was just chatting with Betsy. This is on a, not on this slide or in this webinar, but on the Belize Tourism Board. With Q1 of this year, we were already up 30% in our tourism numbers from last year. And that was during a high season. So this one is showing September. September and October are considered to be our slow months where we have less tourism, but this is still showing quite a good chunk of growth. It's 17% up in this low season of September from last year. So even though we have a high and a low season, we're now seeing that that slow season is getting smaller and smaller. So it's just goes back to what we've been saying. The numbers are there. We're seeing the growth, tourism numbers, visitors. Majority of our visitors are coming from North America. But again, that's because proximity, quick 2.5 hour flight from major hubs like Miami, Houston. So that all makes sense. But yeah, this is a great slide. You can actually go on the Belize Tourism Board website. This is where we pull the statistics from, and they do update that regularly. So a lot of great information on there, really just reconfirming everything Betsy and I have already been talking about. Especially for those investors, obviously the numbers are there and you can see it. It's not just us, telling you. Thank
Exactly. Yeah. So every time you come into Belize, you fill out a form, and that tracks where you're coming from, where you're going, and the Belize Tourism Board actually does look at those forms. They put it all together and compile it into some really great data here. There's a lot more of these charts. They've got all from everything from hotels, cruise ships, you name it. So if you're into data, the Belize Tourism website is a great resource to just see the progress of tourism in Belize. Again, tourism versus lodgings. This graph is a bit old, but I would imagine that those numbers are continuing to increase. There simply aren't enough rooms in the country to accommodate the number of guests that are coming. So there is a constant demand for more rental options, both long-term and for nightly rentals. People need someplace to stay, um, and we're seeing that, you know, those tourism numbers that we just saw on the previous slide, those continue to increase. And so there's a continued demand for accommodations.
I know when you moved here too, we've seen it,
Mhm.
we have a lot of the smaller like mom and pop shops, I call them, where there was like 10, 20 rooms available. And that's just not going to accommodate our tourism numbers as the growth continues. So we do have two options we'll go over at the end of the webinar. It's, something that's a 4.5-star hotel or a 3-star, for every price point, because as Betsy was saying, we saw that growth on the curve where we just don't have enough accommodation. So having a little bit of something for everybody.
Absolutely. And well, like you were saying, there's the plenty of mom and pop hotels, and there's plenty of options if you've got $1,000 to spend a night. But what was lacking was kind of that in between kind of mid-range traveler. And so that's kind of where we felt a need to focus our energies on, because that's really the mainstream traveler. You've got families coming for spring break. You've got people coming down who want to spend their vacation dollars on activities, on diving, on snorkeling, on going on excursions on the mainland. And so, a need for affordable but clean, comfortable North American style accommodations, that demand is high. So like we were saying earlier, beachfront property still an option in Belize, but we can compare two similar islands. We've got the Bahamas. This is a beautiful beachfront condo, going for just under $1 million. So if you've got $1 million, great. The world is your oyster. Pick a place, any place, you can do it. But then we can compare Belize. Um, Again, this is a beachfront property, luxury property, under $500,000. So, there's an immediate savings there. There's an immediate appreciation, as soon as you invest. You'll start to see that appreciation come through, as tourism increases and prices continue to rise. Because on an island, there's a finite amount of space, and once that land is built up, that's it. There's no adding on to an island.
Yeah, and I'm one numbers person, so I definitely am on the Police Tourism Board website quite often, but reading the numbers and, talking about appreciation, I was just recently reading that we're seeing an average of 2 to 4% appreciation on property. Obviously that is going to depend on where you're at in the country and if it's beachfront or not beachfront. So, not saying every property has that potential, but that's really what we are seeing in growth. So again, the numbers are there and it continues to show.
So the first option that we're going to share with you, kind of falls into that middle class, mid-range property. This is the Best Western Grand Bayman Gardens. This property was originally started in the early 2010s. Right now there are, gosh, A, C, D, E, 6 buildings up and operating, with a 7th one that's currently under construction. It's a great property. Katie and I both have lived on site there. Katie's just around the corner. I lived at this property for about 5 years. It's a great location. You're 5 minutes from town. You can, on a golf cart, you're about 10, 15 minutes if you walk down the beach, but you're outside of the hustle and bustle. So you don't have all of the nightclubs and music blaring until 2 or 3 in the morning. But within walking distance, you've got a couple of different grocery stores, several different restaurants. You're 2 blocks off the beach. On site, there's a pool, a small fitness center. I just heard that we have a new tenant for the on-site restaurant, which is really exciting. So you can sit out there at the pool, have your breakfast, have a drink during the day, relax after you've gone on your excursions, diving, mainland, what have you. It's a really relaxing place. So this is the construction of the new building. It's called the Galleon Building. We started construction at the end of last year. And you can see right now we've got all the floors up, walls are going up. It's very exciting. Katie, you mentioned that you were just at the property yesterday, today?
Yeah, yesterday, and then I'll be there again tomorrow. As you mentioned, I'm right around the corner. I can attest to a great location. That's why I live in this area. I can walk anywhere I need to be. But Grand Bayman is just pleasantly one block away, so it's easy for me to get there. But they were mentioning that the construction of Galleon Building will be complete in December of this year, and then we will be opening move-in ready in March. So now really is that time. I assume once we are open, prices will increase. Right now, we have a little bit of
Mhm.
reduction to try to get rid of the last few remaining residences. There's only about 4 of our garden studio and 6 of our corner studios. So we're down to our last 10. We can send those details over to you, but like the slide shows right here, those do start off at 147.9, a very affordable, great value of a buy-in, especially for this property. It has the most amenities of any resort in town. So, the tennis
Mhm.
pickleball court, the gym, and then the pool. So it really does have a little bit of everything, and then that great location. So like Betsy said, they're not making any more of the land. Once it's gone, it's gone. And we are seeing that in town. We already have San Pedro town built up. So if you want to be close to all the conveniences of the airport, the water taxi, grocery stores, this, really is a great option. For under $150,000, you can own and then come and vacation or live in Belize.
Absolutely. And like Katie was saying, we've got one of the nice things is that we've partnered with Best Western right in 2020, kind of right before things got locked down and COVID. But we partnered with Best Western, which is a really exciting opportunity for us and for owners. Because it really gives that credibility. It's a name that people know, they trust it, they know that they're going to get a product that's comfortable, it's clean, it's got to meet certain standards in order to qualify. And so that's really been helpful in boosting those rental numbers. So if you're looking at this as an investment, this is a great option. Best Western has the 7th largest hotel chain in the world, which means that this product is been pushed out to I don't even know how many million people they have in their databases, but I'm sure it's a lot. And so it just gets Belize on more and more people's radar. And people can use their points, which people love using points for hotel stays. So some definitely a great option in that rental market if you're looking at Belize as a place for investment.
Yeah, and then some of the questions here, I was just browsing through them, and folks were kind of asking about the rentals. And so with this, it is a turnkey opportunity. Our rental management is there on site. They'll do the marketing, check your guests in and check them out, housekeeping, maintenance, everything is there for you. I'm not saying that you have to rent your condo, though. I just want to be clear with that
Mhm.
with questions. This property, I would say probably about 50% of the owners do live there full time. Again, it's just a great location in town. So we do have a lot of folks living there full time. If you do choose to come and go as you please, you can do that. But if you want to be this just for an investment, come on vacation a couple weeks a year, that's an option for you as well. So everything will be turnkey for you on site. You don't have to worry about anything. They'll give you your invoices and take care of all of the paperwork end.
Absolutely. And then the second opportunity that we want to share with you is a little bit of a different product. This is a beachfront product. This is Belize Marriott Residences. And this is a really exciting property. It's one of the first branded hotels in the country, as well as on the island of Ambergris Key. A lot has been put into this. We've been working with Marriott for many, many years to get this up and off the ground. As you can see, millions of dollars have gone into the pre-development. What was here before was an old rundown hotel that ECI purchased what 1999, Mike, and it needed to be torn down when they bought it, and it really needed to be torn down when it finally got torn down a couple of years ago. But it was an exciting to see the space open up, and now to make room for this really exciting and unique hotel product that we're bringing. So this is the view from the top of the bank, which is across the street. So this will be the view that almost every single room in the Belize Marriott Residences has, beautiful views of the Caribbean Sea. You can see out where those white caps are, that's the reef. So you can see just how close the island is to the reef. So construction officially began in January 2023. Pilings started coming in. We started to get steel. Took a while to get the steel in and through customs in Belize, but we got it and think it's been quick to go up. We've seen a tremendous amount of project progress on this project in the last few months here, and you can see it really starting to come together. Walls and things will start going up soon, and once that happens, that'll really ramp up the speed at which we're able to complete this project. The estimated completion date is August of 2025, with a sort of a soft opening around the holidays 2025. So definitely coming up very soon, which is exciting to be able to offer this. Um,
Yeah, I was just there as well, and I saw some of the shipping containers being brought in.
mhm.
The walls are prefabricated off of the island, so now the steel's up, everything just clicks into place. So I know we just see steel beams now, but it is a pretty quick construction progress once those walls have all arrived. So I guess we are expecting to be dried in by about March of next year. So once that happens, again, it's pretty quick after that. So it was exciting. I was actually over there yesterday with a group of clients, and we saw them bring in some of those shipping containers. So a lot of movement. I do live 1 block away from Marriott as well. Yeah, it's just a great location on the island. So I like to say I live on campus, but I do live, pretty much equal distance. Grand Bayman and Marriott. So I do see a lot of this construction happening pretty quickly. When you showed that slide with all the pilings in there, I think there's over 300 pilings. So when in my mind, when I think construction, I'm ready to see that vertical growth.
Yeah.
But really putting over 300 pilings was quite the feat here. This is the largest single standing resort on the island. So typically you'll see the standard build is they build one column of like condo buildings, and they do a couple different buildings on the property. This is one single standing resort. All 202 keys are within just that one building. So pretty incredible what we're doing. It's something new that we haven't done on the island, and doing a pretty incredible job of it. Being here firsthand and seeing every day I see something new, and there's a lot of happening over there on site.
Absolutely. And so one of the things that's a little bit different about this project, ECI is going to retain at least 60% of the residences and offering up 40% to owners such as yourself. We as a company see the value in it. We know that Belize is continuing to grow, and so we want a piece of the pie. So that's why we're offering that 40%. Obviously you get first pick. We want you to pick the floor plan, the location that makes the most sense for you, so that when you want to come down and stay in your residence, you've got exactly what you want. And there's several different floor plans, everything from studios up to 2, 3, 4 bedrooms. One of the really nice things about this property is that all of the rooms have lock off doors. So you might come down, you might, for example, you buy a 2 bedroom. That'll be a studio and a 1 bedroom with a lock off door connecting them. If you come down and it's just you and your spouse, you can stay in the studio and the 1 bedroom can get rented. You want to come bring down friends, family, you can have the whole thing, but still have your own space. So it's a really kind of unique model, instead of everybody having to just pile into the same room. Everybody can have their own personal space.
Yeah, it really does help to increase that rental potential too. Being able to rent a studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, it does does really add into that. Just one moment, I'll touch base because I see some questions coming into. This is going to be the same as the Best Western. It is all turnkey for you, the property
Mhm.
manager there on site. This property, because it's a Marriott, it's a hard branded Marriott, it is going to be managed by one of their preferred providers. They recommended to us. So everything again is turnkey and hands off. Or I guess if you want to live here, you can do that too. But really for the rental purposes, it's all taken care of for you.
Yeah, I think we have one person who said they want to live in it, but if you want to live in a hotel, have at it.
Yeah, but with that name, you know, we already know the Marriott name, largest hotel chain in the world. So
Yep.
we correlate that with, you know, just the good revenue coming in from all the rentals. I know I prefer to stay at Marriott when I travel. I know exactly what I'm getting. I don't have to question anything because they do maintain their standards with all their properties. So that is definitely one main goal there. And real quick too, a lot of folks are asking, is furniture included, HOA, all of that. Furniture, and it depends on if you're going to be living in the unit or renting it out, you know, or which property you're looking at, Best Western versus Marriott. So we'll have you just reach out to your individual property consultant. We'll send all these questions you're sending over that are related to HOA and the furniture directly to your property consultant so they can reach out to the details with you. Each condo is going to have a different HOA, and then each property to Marriott versus Best Western. So we can't dive into all the different floor plans that we have. It would just be too much. I know Marriott itself has 12 different floor plans to choose from alone. So that's just a lot to go through. So we can really just hone in to what you're specifically interested in on a case by case basis.
Yeah, and one thing that I've also seen in the Q&A box, people asking if it's a timeshare. No, it is not a timeshare. You receive the title to your specific residence. You will receive a portion of rental profits from your specific residence. Residences are rented on a rotating basis. So there's no preference given to any specific residence, whether it's mine, it's Katie's, it's Joe Schmo's. There's
Yeah, that was, thank you for
right.
bringing that. That was definitely
Yeah, just
great point to
that's
bring up.
and the same thing goes for the Best Western property too. It's full title ownership. Belize is, one of the easiest countries to get ownership of property as a foreigner. You have the same rights as a local Belizean to receive title to your name in the name of your company, 401k. There's several different options of how you can hold that property in Belize too.
Yeah, and the Marriott, I think, is a great to be able to pair it up with that investor residency because there is a
Hmm.
hold that you have to purchase in order to qualify for that. So this is really a great opportunity to be able to have an investment in Belize and then be able to qualify for residency with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Any of those Belize Marriott residences qualify you for that Belize investor residency. Just a few photos of the interiors. It's going to be a very tropical feeling. If you've ever been to the Moana Surf Rider in Hawaii or Raffles in Singapore, very similar, kind of that British colonial look, a lot of light walls, a lot of greenery, and a lot of that local Belizean mahogany that we talked about earlier on. So those residences start right at about 349.9. Like Katie was saying, if you're interested in seeing those floor plans, definitely let your property consultant know and they can chat with you about what you're looking for, what's the best fit for you. Because yeah, like she was saying, there are many, many different floor plans. We could spend a whole hour just going over the floor plans. So we don't want to bore you with that right now when you can learn more about Belize. There are several different ways that you can purchase, like I said. Financing is available, which is something that's unique. Financing generally for non-Belizeans can be pretty tricky if you go to one of the regular banks. Key International Bank, though, does offer financing. And again, speak with your property consultant about what those options look like for you. There's also options to purchase in cryptocurrency, using gold bullion, using your self-directed IRA. So lots of different ways that you can go about making this work for you.
Yeah, and then if you want to reserve your residence, this just goes over the cash payment options. It's all based on the construction schedule. So you can see there for Grand Bayman versus Marriott, there is a difference in price for that refundable deposit. In the next slide, it'll show you we do have a Belize Discovery Tour coming up.
Yes.
That'll be coming up in February. So if you really do start finding that you're really have the itch, you want to come down, you want to visit, definitely sign up for that. But also if you already know what residence you're interested in, you start talking to your property consultant and you know, I want 357. I'm just pulling that out. I don't even know if that's a real number, but if you decide you want that one, let your property consultant know. You know, if you're coming down for this discovery tour, you can put the deposit on your condo so that way nobody else can reserve it. And then you can come visit, see everything in person and move forward from there. So now's a really great time to be able to lock you in. We don't always offer that, but because of this discovery tour coming up, it's a great option to be able to hold your spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Discovery Tour is a great option if you've never been to Belize before. You'll spend a couple days on the island. You'll also spend a couple days on Belize mainland. So you really get to see kind of the highlights. And one of the most important things and most exciting things about this is actually meeting people who have the same idea, who don't think you're crazy for wanting to either own property in Belize, live in Belize, vacation in Belize. I know when I first moved down to Belize, all my friends were like, A, where the heck is Belize? And B, why are you leaving Colorado? It's the most beautiful place in the world. But you know, finding that those kind of like-minded kindred spirits is really, really nice and kind of reaffirming that you're not the only one who's crazy enough to do something like this. So that's one of my favorite parts about these discovery tours.
Well said, Betsy. Meeting like I am not crazy for moving here. I met you when I was here too. Just those adventurous souls. We all come together on the Discovery Tour. So this is something too, if you're interested. I know the Belize Discovery Tour, it will probably sell out. It's pretty popular.
Mhm.
Come visit. I actually just had 2 clients sign up today, so we're already down 2 spots. So between now and then, if you're interested, please let your property consultant know so we can put it on our radar to get you registered.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
and
then we
then
have, oh, go ahead, Katie.
then we have a lot of resources, you know. ECI has been in the region for about 30 years now, you know. So Mike Cobb, our CEO, has definitely done a lot of the research and the homework for you. So he has a lot of resource guides that we like to share with folks because coming to Belize is the first step and then diving into, you know, the culture. We don't have a different language, it's English, but then diving into investments too. So we have our residency guides we can share, but this Belize handbook obviously today for the webinar is going to be a great resource for you. That's something that you can reach out at info@ecidevelopment.com and request that. Or if you're already in communication with your property consultant, they can send you the link for that as well. But now we can go ahead and dive into some of these questions. I know Betsy and I were trying to keep up on them. There's quite a few. If we don't get
Quite.
to all the questions, just know that as long as your name is on here, it'll be sent over to a proper consultant and they can address it. But diving in real quick, I did see one that popped up that I always forget to mention because I don't even think of it, but somebody asked about crime in Belize and they were asking about, you know, mainland and the island. You know, anywhere you go in the world, you can find is you know, an unsafe area. Belize is no different. But I will say living here full time by myself, and visiting by myself, I have never felt uncomfortable or not, you know,
I,
like my in harm's way. I have
yeah,
not
I,
that. You know, I think when people are looking online, you can probably attest to this, Betsy, is we do see it says there's a lot of crime. It's in such a localized area in Belize City. It's really just the south side of Belize City. But as a tourist or an expat, or even me living here, there's nothing I need to go to south side of Belize City for. So again, if you want to find trouble anywhere in the world, you can, but Belize generally is just very safe. We drive golf carts. You know, somebody asked again the questions about theft. If you leave your cell phone laying on your golf cart, it's a golf cart, there's no doors. There's a good chance somebody might steal your cell phone if you leave it on the golf cart. That's just, you know, the way it might happen. But for the most part, I feel like I've left things laying around, walked to the bathroom, come back, and they've been there. Should you do that? No, I probably shouldn't have left my things there, but it was safe. So again, just it's a very safe place to visit.
No, I would second that. I lived alone there for 8 years. I drove from one end of the country to the other by myself, never had any problems. Like Katie said, if you're looking for trouble, you'll find it. But if you're not doing anything you shouldn't be doing, then you'll be just fine. And yeah, petty theft occurs if, it's a crime of opportunity if you leave your cell phone, if you drop your wallet, but by and large, at least I know on the island, people are generally very honest, return things that, what goes around comes around. So I think it's what you make of it. But I never felt unsafe or threatened in any way. Unlike parts of the United States, and other countries. Going through these questions here, let's see what else we've got. Somebody talked about hurricanes. Um, it is a Caribbean country. Hurricanes certainly are um, something that's on everybody's mind. But one of the things that makes Belize and the island specifically unique is because of that reef that really protects the country and the island from a lot of damage that can happen. I think I heard a fact statistic yesterday that it reduces the likelihood of having that reef there reduces the likelihood of anything happening by about 70%. So it really stops the hurricanes kind of in their tracks. That being said, anything is possible. If a big Cat 5 comes, you'll get rain. All of our properties, ECI's properties, are built to North American standards. They're built to the highest storm surge we've had, which is really only about 3 feet. But it's a possibility, but thankfully, knock on wood, has never been a major issue.
Yeah, no, and I was reading those too. People were talking about flooding here on the island. Like you said, our highest storm surge has been about 3 feet, but we don't really experience flooding on the island. Things just kind of roll back into the
Mm-mm.
water. So that's never been an issue. If you're looking at property on the mainland and you're by a river, that's something you're going to want to keep in mind. But again, that's going to be anywhere in the world, as we just saw in the eastern part of the United States, those rivers. So here on the island, we are not only protected by the reef, but we, don't really have the flooding either.
Mm-hmm. I see a lot of people asking about specific visa options. That's something that we're going to take down all of your questions, and your property consultant will be in touch and can give you specifics on those. Oh, this is a good one. What is shopping like? Are there places like Costco? No, there really aren't. Most of it are kind of smaller mom and pop. There's no chain grocery stores, so you're not going to get a Walmart or a Costco. You'll find a lot of those same products get brought in. Prices, but they're not going to be necessarily at those same prices. But now in what 2024 we're in, you can get pretty much anything on the island these days. When I moved there in 2016, that was definitely not the case. I know I used to bring jars of peanut butter in my luggage every time I'd go back to the States because it was prohibitively expensive in Belize. But now things are, with more and more people that are relocating there, the stores are bringing in more products that are familiar to North Americans. That being said, if you're buying exclusively North American branded products, you're going to pay more. Versus if you're buying like a local and you're buying local produce, local rice, local chicken, meat, things like that, your grocery bills will be considerably less expensive.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, we talked about
Here's a question more about
hurricanes.
location. So they were asking the location, they're seeing if they can drive rather than fly.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
just
yeah.
to touch base on that again real quick. To get into Belize, I suppose you could drive through Mexico into Belize if you wanted to.
Mhm.
But if you're flying, our international airport is located in Belize City. So you will have to land there on the mainland. To get over to Ambergris Key, you can either bring the puddle jumper or that water taxi, but you cannot drive to Ambergris Key. So I wasn't quite sure if you were referring to our property locations. Once you're on the island, yes, we can drive to those spots to visit the Marriott or the Best Western. We drive golf carts here on the island, so that's always fun to get around. But I wasn't quite sure locations, so that's why I wanted to give that broad answer.
Yeah. But on mainland Belize, you can drive anywhere. There's a really good road system. Rental cars are easy. So that is certainly an option. We've got a couple more minutes here before we close out the hour here. A lot of people asking about specifics on HOAs and pricing. Again, your property consultant will reach out and can discuss with you the specifics on whether that's for the Marriott property or the Best Western property. Um, And somebody also asked, they didn't know who their, if you don't know who your property consultant is, you will find out after this webinar. They will be in touch with you just to follow up and go through any questions that you have. So just in case you're not sure who you're working with, that's no problem. We will be in touch with you.
And I do see a couple
Um,
anonymous attendees, just so you know, if you're labeled anonymous attendee, we won't know who to direct these questions to. So if we haven't answered your question, you're an anonymous attendee, make sure that you do send that question over to your property consultant so they can answer it for you. We won't necessarily know who you are.
all right, we've got time for, oh, okay, I've seen this question a couple times now about healthcare on the island. So for, minor things, you get the flu, you break an arm. There are clinics on the island where you can get treated. There's plenty of pharmacies where you can get pretty much any sort of medication that you need.
Just
If you
open
need,
their public hospital too.
oh yeah, I
Yeah.
did see that. Yeah. Um,
The private hospital just opened up. The public one is opening in 2 years.
yeah.
We just
Yeah, for any sort of major surgeries that you might need, or if you have any sort of ongoing health concerns, it's definitely worth looking into whether or not you can receive the kinds of treatments that you need. Sometimes you may have to go to Belize City. They have a couple different larger hospitals there. But for your sort of everyday run-of-the-mill healthcare, it's perfectly plenty of options and excellently trained doctors. Okay.
I saw somebody comment on the island is getting crowded. I just want to speak to that. I know San Pedro is the town. It's the town that, was where everything started here in the island before they had a bridge. Now we do have a bridge, a nice big concrete one. You can fit, two big trucks across it. When I first moved here, that was a wooden bridge. So now we do see expansion going north. So by no means is this island almost built up or, almost saturated to where there's no land left. It's far from reality. It was just San Pedro town itself. When we're referring to, not making any more of that land, but yes, there is still plenty of opportunity where we're not that crowded. I think, annually, living here full time, I just heard somebody telling me the other day it was about 18,000 permanent full-time residents. Obviously, during tourism season, that number does double because we have people that are coming here to work or to snowbird. So not a large population still lots of room for growth.
Absolutely. Gosh, there's just so many great questions here. We probably won't get a chance to answer them all, but like Katie was saying, we'll be sure to be in touch and make sure that you get those questions answered. Make sure to jot this email down, info@ECI Development. If you want to get a copy of that handbook, if you want to register for that discovery tour coming up in February, if you're not sure who your property consultant is and you want more information on one of those properties, send an email to info@ECI Development and put something in the subject line, whether that's the handbook or discovery tour or Marriott, just so that we can get you connected with a property consultant if you're not already working with one. And we'll make sure that we get you that information right away. Katie, anything final to add here? Looks like we're just
Uh,
about at the.
no, I just want to say hi to Mark. He would just commented that he had actually stayed in the exact Grand Bayman room that we had showed, but I want to say hi while we're on. That's all I have to end with.
All
Thanks for
right.
joining us. I think this was a really good one. There are a lot of great questions. I'm still reading through them myself. So Betsy and I will definitely be busy after this, getting back to all of you to go over all those details.
Yes, but thanks for spending the last hour with us, and we hope to see you in Belize either at the Discovery Tour or another time. So thanks again and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. Okay, so it's